questa noise.
Good morning, Misfits. You are tuning in to a special edition Misfit podcast. Today, we are going to be taking a deep dive into Misfit Affiliate Phase 4. We have an exciting announcement. We have partnered with PushPress. So if you're a gym that uses their software, you can now integrate Misfit Affiliate programming, probably just in an easier way, right? Like if right now you're on PushPress and you've been subscribing through our website, and you have to enter all of that information in. Now you don't have to. So make sure that you head to the Misfit Athletics Instagram, click that link in bio. You'll get a 14-day free trial. Hunter, correct me if I say any of these things wrong, but basically if you're a potential new customer, you can expect warm-ups, obviously the daily programming, competitor extra, coaches notes, our engine program. This is a very all-encompassing solution for your affiliate. It's not just, here you go, like we're known for writing good workouts, let's slap that bad boy in there. There's a lot of thought that goes into, again, warm-ups and coaches notes, and the extras are great, but just being able to walk out into our gym here and see the way that the program is executed based on a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the programming meeting, I think is a massive benefit in terms of signing up and subscribing.
Yeah, I mean you're part of the programming team, so the level of detail that we try to put into the programming, and I think all of us have different ways that we view the best way to provide the program. Kyle and I doing a lot of the coaching, so we have a good idea of yep, this is correct or the right amount of work to fit in the hour without it being under or over programmed. I'd say both are an issue. More likely the people try to cram too much into an hour, and then you're on the kind of sanity checking side, making sure that we're not repeating things from a variance perspective, weights, rep schemes, that sort of thing. So all of us kind of fill in the gaps where the other might be thinking something different. So yes, your warm-ups, you get obviously the programmed work. Some days it's a lifting only day, a true heavy day. Some days it's a single Metcon, a cardio piece or something like that. And then occasionally you get a little bit of both, maybe a 15-minute gymnastics skill piece and then kind of a short, simple Metcon to finish. But you get your work for the 1 hour class. You alluded to the competitor extra. So if you have athletes who are looking to crack now, I guess, into that top 25% to move on to the online semifinal, the in-affiliate semifinal and whatnot, you have athletes who can take that competitor extra and do so in open gym. And then you also get access to the Engine program, which is a 3-day-a-week program written by one of our in-house coaches, Coach Chris. He's got a shitload of experience writing, programming, and coaching, specifically rowing, but he's been doing the Engine programming for a long time now, and we get a lot of good feedback from our affiliates who subscribe and just like providing that offering, a little bit lower skill, lower kind of lots of options for machine alternatives and stuff like that. Low skill, typically lightweight, nothing super complex. We run that class. Chris does an awesome job on the Sunday Engine class that we run at our affiliate. But yeah, and then the other stuff too for coaches more specifically, things like the notes. You get the scaling options. You get kind of the mind of the programmer, so to speak, coaches notes that say hey, this is what we're thinking. This is how this should go. And then I think about the logistics a lot of hey, if I got a 15-person class in a 300 square foot gym, how am I going to run this sort of thing? So try to provide options for affiliates who have a shitload of space and other affiliates who have to do partner workouts for a lot of their stuff just because of spatial or equipment limitations. So very much an all-encompassing program for the idea was less than one single membership. You get your entire month of programming taken care of by people who actually enjoy writing programming, which is not the case for a lot of owners and coaches out there.
True. Yeah, for sure.
Which is weird for us, but
yes. Make sure, so beyond that, so let's say you're going through the coach's notes and you still have questions, you have a unique gym setup, all that stuff. discord.gg/Misfit Athletics to get signed up for our free community, and we will make sure that if you're a Misfit affiliate that you get into that private coaches group as well. Today's episode is, if you listen regularly to these programming episodes, I think will be a little bit unique. I have some ideas on some directions to take it, and it will make a whole lot of sense here in a little bit as we talk about how our programming changes when we get a little bit closer to the CrossFit Open. And then just the opportunity when there is a double down on variance to talk through how we coach certain types of classes. So from our perspective, getting to change it up in terms of the topics and talk about macro programming, the when in doubt, zoom out, kind of the bigger overarching ideas of the program versus like get your members riled up to work on their handstand push-ups or something like that. And then, what could be more important than the actual delivery of the programming? We are selling a program right now, and we know that your coaching is going to stand above that, or if it's the pyramid, it's the base of the pyramid, and then the program's going to sit on top of that. So we always want to make sure that we check in on that. But before we get into all that, we always start the podcast off with live chat. Hunter, what's going on?
Oh, not a whole lot.
You cold, kid?
Dude, I cannot believe, not but a year or two ago, Sherb and I were battling it out for who could fucking sit in the tub and turn into an icicle sooner or later.
Sure.
Sitting in there for
as if he couldn't get any redder.
Yeah,
he got redder.
Fucking 5 minutes in the middle of February, and I'm like, can't wait to get out of that bitch 2 minutes in. But yeah, I just did the retest, the dumbbell squat clean wall walk. We're in retest week for the current Misfit affiliate phase. It was wall walks and a single dumbbell squat clean, and then a rest period, and then 4-minute window for muscle ups. And when I wrote that workout, I tried to make it a little bit biased toward the wall walk and the muscle up without it being 10 minutes of affiliate level athletes face down doing the horizontal Bernie against the floor. For better or worse, I turned it into a dumbbell squat clean workout. At least maybe that's a bias because I don't mind wall walks, but
sure.
Oh my Lanta, my legs were so fucked for 4 days after that workout in test week. So when I came back today, I was like, I have to get time to get my lower half in the fucking ice tub so that I can be ambulatory tomorrow. And TBD on whether that'll be the case or not, but I'll be.
Your original version had even more of those too, so you're lucky that we talked you out of that.
I know. Well, fuck.
But that's like a blessing and a curse situation. You get to do more squat cleans due to your fitness, so
sure,
congratulations, but also fuck you.
Yeah, well, I did it. So anybody who complains, I'm complaining too. So you have no one to complain to but yourself.
Yeah, that's fair. Sebastian, you'll know what I'm talking about here. I've always, since listening to Pardon My Take, I've always wanted, they call their listeners AWLs. I've always wanted the podcast listeners to have a moniker. So if the podcast listeners want to name themselves, go for it. But I just want to shout them out. We did the podcast last week and I talked about the coffee situation that I'm going through, and like clockwork, immediately got DMs about I did fuck it up. I think I was saying 4-pound bag over and over. That's not a thing. So 5-pound bags of coffee that are good and within a decent range price wise. And I got 5 solid recommendations. So again, though, old Drew would have 25 pounds of coffee on the way based on those recommendations. I'm going to slow roll this, okay? I'm going to take it nice and easy. My wife's
Give it another week, maybe a 5-pound bag will arrive here magically.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to test it, right?
Yeah.
Just magic coffee showing up. So shout out there. And then I told you way back, I told you guys that one of my 3 football situations was going to pan out, and I jinxed myself. I came in second place, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers suck.
Is this the Guillotine League?
I came in second in the Guillotine League. I came in second in the like our like big money league is what we call it. So yeah. I mean, I won money, but like I would much rather tell my friends they're a bunch of fucking losers than win money. Yeah. So first place is so much different than second place. And they've turned into a bunch of socialists. They're like, 9th place should get prize money. I think first place should take it all, and everyone else should have to do a penalty as far as I'm concerned. But right. I did get prize money.
They all tried.
I don't want to spend too much time on this. We got, affiliates that are like, would you fucking tell me about cardio day, please? And potential new listeners, new subscribers to Misfit affiliate programming. The Russell Wilson experiment better be over. It better be over, okay?
Are they in the playoffs? Sorry,
they got their fucking asses handed to them by who I actually think is potentially the best team. Now the Chiefs
Including
don't count.
Kansas City? Okay.
They don't count.
Okay.
They're not the best team. They have Patrick. They're the best team. Like, however you want to fucking explain that. And Andy Reid coming off a bye is like 10 million and 0. When he has time to prepare for another team, he's just like, this is too easy. Could you guys, maybe move the schedule up, make this challenging for me? So it will be interesting, though, because Houston's defense is really good. So it'll at least be a game. But the Steelers got their asses handed to them, and it's tough because the Ravens are the rival, so, like, that sucks. But they're so good. Like, Lamar and Derrick Henry on the same team when it gets cold out is terrifying. Like, I'll predict right now that they're going to go to Buffalo and win. I'll just say that. I'll put my prediction down. Anyways.
Good news for them. It's not going to be warm up there.
A lot of people want Tomlin fired. I'm not quite there yet. I've been there a bunch of times in the last 2 decades. I used to tweet fire Tomlin back when tweeting was a thing. But until they have a top-tier quarterback, I don't know. I don't think you can blame basically anyone other than the general manager or the universe. And I don't know how they're going to get one because they keep getting the fucking 20th draft pick because they're mediocre. Okay. All right. This is the Misfit Affiliate Phase 4 program. A couple woosahs. So I alluded to the fact that this type of episode could be a little bit more fun for us because it gives us an opportunity to dip into what you can expect from a more macro standpoint. So micro programming would be like a specific thing that's happening in a specific workout on a specific day. And then the macro is more these overarching ideas of things that we're trying to accomplish within the programming. And there are still a few sort of biases that we have, but they're very light and they rotate. So I think the easiest segue to this would be talking about our heavy days. And we're leading into the Open, and we will spend a little bit of time talking about the Open, I think, in this podcast. But when we're leading into the Open, there's just this idea of getting a little bit more sports specific with certain things. So maybe the rower pops up a little bit more, or maybe some of the like pulling gymnastics, like your toe to bar or your kipping handstand push-up, whatever it is, will pop up. And then when we look at the strength department, we're like halfway between choosing a bias like we would other times of the year and then getting into this, what I would call a sport-specific rotation. So all of the lifts that are going to be on our heavy days are going to be basically front rack strength, right? So we've got split jerk, we've got front squats, we've got clean and jerk, and we've got squat cleans. You'd normally see us go one of those or a combination of two of them, but having that full rotation there, I think you get a really I think you get a really good opportunity as a coach to teach, like this like continuing education week to week. Like the barbell's in the front rack. Let's talk about the difference between like what has to happen in the squat clean versus the front squat versus the split jerk. We can talk a ton about like if you can truly stabilize your trunk and like really become strong in the middle, all of a sudden you feel like 20 or 30% stronger and realize that it wasn't necessarily your legs, that sort of thing. So I really like the idea of a movement family where week to week the athletes can learn a bit more and become more and more comfortable in these positions.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're just finishing up a phase now, the only phase of the year where the lifting day is the same every week, which is the back squat. And so for the last 7 weeks, athletes have been doing sets of 5 back squat. Same thing from a variance perspective. Like there's a reason we only do that once per year, where there's an entire phase where that's the only lift day. Like it's the only lift we'll do for 7 weeks, but you do get the benefit of kind of week to week, especially for athletes who are consistent and coaches who see the same athletes in their classes regularly, that they can really spend time working with that athlete on the movement, knowing that like, hey, we're going to come back to this next week and we can see progress from week to week. Whereas the constant changing of the lifting, awesome for GPP, but it doesn't always provide that opportunity to check in. When you're saying like, you know, all of these movements are from the same family, there's 1 week where there's a deadlift, lift only day, but other than that, it's all front rack, whether it's a clean and jerk, split jerk, front squat, that sort of thing. And you're right, we can emphasize certain, you know, aspects of those lifts that do translate over. And then the benefit to this lift specifically at this time of year, that front rack position, that's just we're gonna see that in some capacity in the Open. Like you said, we can talk about, you know, the importance of the Open at the affiliate level, you know, regardless of what your thoughts on CrossFit HQ are. But the fact is that like those things are going to show up in the Open. I don't necessarily care that we're preparing specifically for the Open, you know, in that regard, but it is good to like, this is kind of the culmination of the training year, and there's a reason that these lifts are showing up at the time that they are, because there has been a progression over the last, you know, 50 weeks to bring us right around to this point, a little bit less, but.
And there's just like, if we use the Open, we have this opportunity to compare ourselves to basically however you want to bracket it. It could just be the 100 athletes that are nearest to you, the 1,000 athletes that are nearest to you. If you use the Open almost exclusively to track your like longevity, you could do that. Like, so we don't need to talk about giving your $20 to this person or that person. We take this scoreboard and we go in and say, I'm going to get a year older, and it's very doable to get fitter. So I'm literally every single year up through one, when I'm comparing myself to the right cohort and comparing myself to myself the previous year, I'm going to get this opportunity to go in and check in on that, because we know that if your strength and skill and metabolic conditioning improve, hey, go take a blood test. I guarantee you're going to like the results there. Yeah. Like that kind of thing. And I don't know, like just the idea that is available to us, and we have the test retest models that are built into it, but it's just not the same as let's take, you know, whatever, you know, 6 to 10 movements. Yeah. And we've got some mixed modality. We've got all these different things. It's a very good system to measure with.
Yeah. I think there's like, at least for us and people who follow our program, there's 3 ways that we test and retest. One is the built-in test retest that we do at the beginning and the end of the phase. And that exists equal parts for like the purpose of progress, but it's also to keep athletes like engaged for that 7 week. Hey, we're going to slightly bias a couple of things, and you're going to test something at the beginning, you're going to test something at the end. And assuming that you were consistent over those 6 to 7 weeks, like you're going to be able to see that you're making progress in the short term, which is great. That keeps the buy-in high. And from a coach and ownership perspective, like, you know, how many of your athletes are going to say like, they're going to send an email that says, hey, I've been making too much progress, I'm going to cancel. It's like, that doesn't happen. Like, if they cancel, there's another reason, that sort of thing. The other one is, like, we still do our benchmarks. We still get the traditional CrossFit benchmarks, the girl workouts, occasional hero workouts, whatever. The ones that get sprinkled in, not even yearly. Maybe even, like, we've got, God damn it, there's a 1K row coming up, and that
Yes, there is.
I already know I'm going to be sick that day. But the last time I've got that in my benchmark tracker is, let's see if I can find it real quick, October 11th, 2021. So Lord knows we've done plenty of rowing between then and now, but, to have that benchmark that we reassess, not even on a yearly basis, just like one random day you walk in, it's like, well, there it is. Let's see if I've gotten fitter over that period of time. The Open is that third thing where we can do kind of the annual check-in. The benefit there is, like, maybe we do get an open workout retest where we get to retest from a few years ago. But I think what the Open brings that those other two don't is the larger community. And again, say what you want about HQ, say what you want about the Open and what it's supposed to do. There is still no larger, like, competitive event, like, worldwide. Like, it is I think the single biggest, like, thing where anybody around the world who wants to can compete against each other. And I mean, I don't think I have to tell you or anybody who's done a Friday Night Lights type thing at their affiliate, like, there's a reason people are laid out on the floor on their back for 10 minutes after an open workout, because the intensity that you get in those workouts is just does not get matched on with your Tuesday 9 a.m. class. Not because of any other reason than it's just got a little bit different of a vibe, and that is where you can get your athletes to push themselves beyond what they're capable of and what they would do on a daily basis, and maybe they learn something that's like, hey, it turns out if you really focus on something, or if you really actually just try, like, you get yourself over the rings, you get your chin over the bar, you do something, you hit that PR lift that you've been seeking for a long time and you thought it would never happen, but the stars aligned, the vibe was right, and you hit that big squat clean or whatever the lift is. And those opportunities don't come around enough to skip over the Open just for a reason that doesn't have to do with your athletes.
Yeah, and if I, in this office with all the fucking shit all over my whiteboards here, the Open is about a sport. And then I go walk 20 feet out onto the rubber mats out there, and it's about individual athletes and the community. Yeah. So we are talking about Misfit affiliate programming. Make it about your athletes and your community. Like, it doesn't need to be about the sport. It does not need to be about the C-suite at CrossFit HQ. That wasn't the fucking point to begin with. Yeah. And like I've said this on a few different podcasts, and I don't want to, get into politicizing any of this, but it's not theirs. It's yours. You and your community should be able to have a fantastic time digging into this.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So talked a little bit about the idea of a bias that we've had in previous phases, and then what could be sort of in between that with the sports specific, we call it the front rack rotation, or just, front squats, cleans, heavy split jerk. When we get into the gymnastics focus, the cardio day focus, intensity day, GPP lifting day, that's when we get into this rotation. And we get into this ode to like the OG style of CrossFit, but brought into like maybe kind of a cleaned up affiliate situation. And one of the things that popped into my head as you were talking is it's like when we are making adaptations to the original like .com programming, the intention there was not, it didn't have anything to do with an affiliate. .com programming was for self-motivated one gym memberships that were in your garage. That's not who we're writing programming for. We're not worried about, am I worried about retention of myself from a free program that I'm following? You know what I mean? So like a lot of these changes, it's like this is what we're after. And if we got to throw a bone out there every once in a while to get people excited and get them to stick around, to get our coaches to buy into something larger, like this style of programming makes sense. But at the same time, we've always used variance as a guiding principle. And when I look at this, it's exciting because, again, at the macro level, week to week, we have a cardio day, a GPP lifting day, a heavy day, a gymnastics focus day, and an intensity day. And that's every single week. And that's where we're checking all of these boxes of these different styles of days and styles of programming. And then as we break it down more and more into the micro, it's like, okay, cardio day is once a week. But if our combinations of, like, is this machine only? Is this CrossFit cardio, which would be like wall balls and double unders and, you know, burpees and things of that nature? Is it long? Is it medium? Is it short? Is it a couplet? Is it an AMRAP? Is it timed? Like, that's where we get to, again, lean on that variance. So one of the things that I wanted to do is to maybe we could define things, we could sort of put out there why we would want them weekly, but I did want to go sort of category by category. So the very first is this idea of cardio day. What comes to mind for you as a programmer and a coach when you hear that?
Something that everybody can do. So flat out, it's hopefully the most accessible day. It's either most of the year, it's like either machine intervals or a combination, like CrossFit light, I would say. Like if there was if you were thinking like
light on my fucking heart rate, bro.
Yeah, something like that, where it's like low skill, weights are light. Again, there still might be some scaling required, but for the most part, we see the most number of RX scores, for example. We don't even keep track of RX or scaled, but it's one of those days where, for the most part, everybody can participate, and the way that you get to the top of the leaderboard is being the fittest person there. So cardio day is typically either it's something that everybody can do, and it's the best way that we have to specifically target an athlete's energy system. So on a cardio day where it is just bike sprints, like, we can target a very specific energy system because we can put athletes in a specific time domain and effort level, and again, train that energy system. If we want to go in that medium or the long time domain, things open up a little bit as far as mixing up what sort of machines we can use, what implements we can use. And then the idea of CrossFit cardio you alluded to. So we have a handful of movements. Again, just think like kind of CrossFit light, your burpees, your kettlebell swings, wall balls, fairly low skill, just kind of grunt work type things. We see those type of workouts pop up in the open because they're awesome tests of overall fitness, where an athlete is not limited by a heavy barbell, a mobility limitation, a high skill movement, or capacity to just straight up perform a movement. Okay, we want athletes to only be encumbered by their own fitness. So these days provide the coach with the opportunity to get everybody kind of participating together, suffering together, while doing either the exact same thing or a similar thing. And then from a programming perspective, we get that ability to manipulate energy systems exactly how we want it, because it's a lot easier to control. And once we start throwing muscle ups or thrusters and stuff like that, we have to be a little bit more careful with how we program that to make sure that everybody gets the right workout.
It's also from a coaching standpoint, it's a really great opportunity this is one thing that the hour-long class affiliate model, where things can be challenging, and sometimes you have to ask a member to go above and beyond with their time and their schedule, is the idea of warming up, which is very much performance-based, and then cooling down, which is very much recovery-based. Yeah. It's not that easy to teach and whiteboard brief and get everybody back to the whiteboard to give their scores and do all of these things. And then my mind, as a bit more on the competitive side from a coaching standpoint, is I need 30 minutes. of dedicated warm up and cool down time that has nothing to do with mobility or any of this other stuff. So on these days, being able to show people, you know, how you can really get your body to a place where it can perform at its best and not feel like I'm maybe warming up in the workout sort of a thing, you're hitting your stride at some point. And then from that recovery standpoint of getting athletes again to sort of understand how to cool down, because the cardio day is always going to be a like conditioning only day. And we've talked about this. I don't know if we've talked about it in the affiliate sense, because members, I don't know if they don't know or they don't care as much, but the idea of what does actually stomp on your central nervous system and your heart rate being high for a longer period of time is like a number one of that's why you do a 20-minute AMRAP and you fucking sleep like a baby kind of a situation, like a good 20-minute AMRAP, that kind of deal. So if a member is worried about that and they like to nerd out a little bit, that whole like, if I don't pull 100% deadlift today, my central nervous system's not going to get like any action. That's not a thing. That is very much not a thing. GPP lifting day. So this could potentially be lifting only, but in most instances, it is a like shorter version of a lift into a conditioning piece. Yeah.
So this day was kind of born out of, you know, we've as the programming company, we've adjusted our view on how to best program, especially for the affiliate, because there are a lot more constraints, especially with the time available, logistics, number of athletes, equipment, all that sort of stuff. Initially, it was like, well, let's try to get two things in one class, right? A lift and a conditioning piece. And then it was like, this is too fucking tight. We're sacrificing something that we don't want to sacrifice in order to do more work. And a lot of people like the idea of seeing multiple things on the whiteboard. It's like, I'm going to get strong and I'm going to get fit all in one class. And it's like, there's a place for that, but it's not, it doesn't exist every single week. The GPP lift, this kind of basically, instead of having a dedicated day where it's like, we have to do two things in this class, it effectively became a like, hey, what are we missing sort of day? Like GPP day is like, what have we not done? So we've got a cardio day where we have to go short and fast. We also have a lifting day, which is effectively kind of short and fast. And then we got gymnastics. So what am I missing in this week to create a well-rounded program? Some days it is doing a lift and then a conditioning piece, and some days it's not. And some days it's doing your traditional kind of like one workout within that 1 hour, but we just kind of pay attention to the movement that gets plugged into there. So as an example, we talked about this lifting phase being the front rack sort of thing. Well, we've got a week where we want to make sure that athletes get the opportunity to pull a heavy deadlift at some frequency. We think about the deadlift, the squat, and like pressing movements as things that we have to keep that in the rotation because they have the most opportunity to get athletes stronger. So in that week, we have a deadlift day. That is our lift only day. That's the 1 week in this phase that's not a front rack thing. So what we do is take that GPP day and say like, okay, but we're going to make sure we get that front rack work in there somewhere. So now we have a heavy front squat inside of a conditioning piece. We don't do that very often. It's, a lot of times in conditioning pieces, we don't want athletes to get slowed down by, say, a overly heavy barbell or an excessively high skill movement or whatnot. But there are days where we do that, and that GPP day serves that purpose. So it just allows us flexibility as programmers to make sure that athletes we're getting what we need in the program for it to be well-rounded and varied in a true GPP format. But some days there is going to be like, hey, you're going to spend 15 minutes working on a lift with the intention of getting better at the lift, not necessarily going as heavy as possible. And then the conditioning piece that follows is going to be something that doesn't require any extra warm-up. Maybe we're going to snatch for 15 minutes and then do burpees and snatches in the short conditioning piece. So the lift has warmed us up for the conditioning piece. It's not going to detract from the conditioning piece, but it provides us with a slightly different format that is also easy to run as a coach who's responsible for making sure that you get your athletes in and out the door in an hour. So the GPP day is basically affords us some flexibility with making sure that the program's well-rounded, and then also giving athletes kind of a different class feel where it's, some days it is okay to do 2 different things as long as they are programmed correctly and then coached well.
We alluded to the sort of the hierarchy between what matters more between coaching and programming, and this is a way for us to help you out with that. So there's this idea of, like, I'm thinking, we just have gone through our year-end survey, and when we're looking at it, if you're going to ask if you're going to run programming like this and you're going to ask members what they think of the programming, you will get some feedback of, I wish there were more days with a lift and a Metcon.
Yeah.
But then you slide on over to them rating your coaching, and it's very high. And again, there's a thing where whoever's listening to this podcast that either subscribes to our programming or is thinking about doing it, you are asking us to bring a level of expertise. And that's obviously no different when you walk out into the gym, right? The members might think they want X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, they're paying a premium price for you to tell them what to do. And you get the feedback on a year-end survey or something like that because you fucking ask for it, right?
Yeah.
But I love the idea that we can find a balance between all of this stuff and say, we promise we know what we're doing and we've done a ton of iterating and we've done it the way that, this is suggesting. But at the end of the day, we believe that coaching and class experience is so incredibly important as the entire foundation of what we do at the gym that we need to write the programming to prioritize that. And then we can think about the programming sort of afterwards. So that's where my mind goes when I think about the idea of, like, there are 2, sometimes 3, but almost always 2 days a week where there's 2 pieces versus 3, that kind of thing, or 2 pieces versus 1 in the class. And I guarantee you that if you've been writing your own programming and you've been doing the 2 days, that you will get some feedback on, I just don't like change, please let me back squat 9 times a week. And then if you're asking them how the coaching experience went, that will improve if you are thinking about things like coaches development.
Yeah, I mean, I think to add on to that, that's an education thing from the coach to membership, from coaches to membership, on why is it that we're only doing 1 piece in class per day? Because an athlete is thinking about their experience in a microscope. They're like, today I want to go into the gym and I want to do these 2 things. And it's like, that's fine. I understand. You come into a CrossFit gym, the purpose is not to get you fitter like today. It's not to do what you want today. It's to, like, over a long period of time.
I don't know, Hunter, it's January. I would like to, let's go.
Yeah,
Snap the fingers.
If athletes are not paying you to come in and do whatever they want. They are paying you for your expertise, and they're putting trust in you that your program is going to move the needle for them in the long run. And if athletes don't understand that the purpose of CrossFit is that low trajectory to a distant horizon, right? It's the, like, a little tiny bit of progress every day, because you are coming in, you're being consistent, you're coming to the gym, 100 words of fitness, right? You've got the nutrition dialed in, we're improving our conditioning, we're working on the things that we need to. If you can't squat below parallel, we're working on our mobility. If your diet sucks, you're improving that. And all of those things combined together over a long enough period of time of 4 to 6 days per week in the CrossFit gym, and then learning and playing new sports outside of the gym, that is going to move the needle on your fitness over the long term. I'm not here to provide you with what you want every single day, like exclusively what you want. I'm here to provide you with a well-rounded program that's going to make you fit for life. And what that means is, like, some days we're going to squat heavy, some days I'm going to bury you with cardio, and some days we're going to practice a skill that you might think of as, like, this is stupid, this isn't, like, I don't want to do this, but we're teaching you something, we're developing certain skills that are applicable to your fitness in the long run. So don't be as a coach or an owner, you can't be afraid to, you have to educate your coaches first. You have to communicate like, hey, what is it that we're doing here? And then filter that down to members like, hey guys, this is the purpose of CrossFit. This is what we're shooting for. This is the reason the programming looks like it does. This is why some days we do 2 things, some days we do 1 thing. This is why some days we're only going to lift. You're not going to breathe hard. And then there's other days where we are going to just, make you breathe hard for an extended period of time or make you sprint on a bike, because in the interest of your overall fitness over a long period of time, this is how we get there.
And CrossFit is so different than everything else in terms of what we're like. It's not like a fitness challenge. It's not whatever 75 hard or any of these other things. The business model is literally, this is a lifestyle for you, and we expect you to come here and stay here for a really long period of time. And when we mix things up and we mix up the modalities and we don't, just hammer you with volume, you stay healthy, you get fitter over a longer period of time, your biomarkers improve. We're not trying to build something for you where you come in and you go as hard as you possibly can on multiple things for a month or 2 and then quit because you're burnt out and your body's smart enough to tell you, hey, you should probably stop this shit, or it does it because you pulled your hamstring or you did X, Y, or Z. And that, again, that longer time horizon is huge. And then the other thing that comes to mind, and I definitely don't want to call out any of our customers, but when we get these, it's few and far between, but we get some instances where coaches or owners, whoever's sort of in charge of signing up for the program, comes to us and says, will you please tell my members, give me the reason to my members why we are doing this or we're not doing that as often. And it starts to it's a question that gets asked by the same affiliate owners or coaches 3 or 4 different times. And it becomes clear that we are selling words on a paper to those specific gyms and not this buy-in of the overall idea and listening to the podcast and furthering your education. And, culture is top down. So like you said, it's not just about educating your members, it's your coaches. Every single one of your coaches should be able to answer that question. And if you're new to all this and we need to help you answer it the first time, we're totally in for that. And we provide that as part of the service. But over a long enough time horizon, you need to be able to answer those questions. Yeah, and that's to go a step further, that's what you learned in your L1. That's what's in the level 1 manual. We have certain ways that we program that are, outside of the confines of the M, the G, the W in that, the programming manual, but it's still based on the CrossFit methodology. We teach CrossFit at our gym. We don't teach, Team Misfit, some proprietary blend of herbs and spices. We have nuance to how we teach things, and because we've developed an understanding of both the CrossFit methodology, but also human physiology and biomechanics and all that stuff, and all the resources and subject matter experts that have been in the CrossFit space for a long period of time. But CrossFit is that proprietary program. You alluded to other programs. It's the reason CrossFit will continue to be around for a long period of time is the methodology. And it's because if I go to a commercial gym, even if I go see a personal trainer, they're going to ask me what my specific goals are. And I'm unless I have that specific thing, what I actually just want is to be generally fit and generally healthy. And that personal trainer is not going to write a program that encompasses your entire fitness in the way that the CrossFit methodology does. You're not going to go to Orange Theory. You're going to go to Orange Theory and you're going to get what you want from a day-to-day basis. You're going to go in there and you're going to sweat for 20 or 30 minutes and you're going to feel good afterward.
but you're not moving the needle on your fitness over the long term in the same way that you would if we commit to that, the 4 to 6 days a week in a CrossFit gym with the program that is well-rounded and using the CrossFit methodology to get us fitter. So that's you as a coach or an owner, like, again, happy to answer those questions, but like we need to be reading off the same sheet of music at baseline, which is having an understanding of what is in the L1 manual, what's in the L2 guide, what's in the articles that CrossFit and Glassman wrote, 2 decades ago and stuff like that. If we don't have an understanding of that, then like that's an education problem, and no amount of conversations that I have with you is going to effectively communicate that to your members. Like, you have to have that understanding. We're happy to help, but like I'm putting this on you, coaches.
Yeah, and what you're trying to do when you're helping is not a game of fucking telephone. It's not.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm not trying to be the middleman of like.
Right. Well, they become the middleman.
I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to create.
Yeah, we're educating you to be the source. Like, that's the goal.
Yes.
So if it's like, what the fuck did he just say to me? Say that back. Be like, I don't grasp. I'm not understanding this. We have a deeper conversation. Can it be a podcast topic? Whatever. Like, that sort of thing. You don't want to feel like it's a game of telephone. Well, the guy said so. So it is what it is. Listen to them. All right. So somewhere between, depending on your hopefully 4 to 6 days a week, somewhere between that, your 15 to 25% of your programming is going to be heavy day lifting. I think that's a great split. We hit the low rep, high weight, medium rep, medium weight, low weight, crazy reps. We hit all of those different things when it comes to the weightlifting. And I don't think you need to explain what heavy day is. I want you to give me, I'm an affiliate owner and I've been the middleman this whole time, and I'm coming back to you again. Can you give me some tips on heavy day and how to run it and how to sell it so people aren't just like, I didn't fucking cash out with a 90 cal sprint at the end, bro. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot from an education perspective. We have to be able to communicate to athletes what the importance of being strong are from a longevity perspective. So we know, like, you might be able to relay this better than I can, but if you've been served any Peter Attia information in the last like year, that man is on a tear of improve your VO2 max and get as strong as you possibly can, and those two things
should that link
like the
to
most important
misfitgymportland.com
yeah to longevity. So
yeah.
we can talk about things like improving bone density. Think like let's think about your membership and who this applies to. So if you're over 50 or 60 years old and you fall and break a hip, the odds that you are going to, what fact I'm trying to get at here,
dude, all cause mortality
yes, okay, go for it.
Is absolutely, like, the numbers are staggering. For essentially what we need is a level of muscle mass and bone density, and maybe downstream a little bit of mobility, because you can be fucking jacked to the tits, as they say, and you might still tear
tight
something if you fall.
Strong muscle, as they say.
Yeah. But the all-cause mortality from that is just absolutely staggering. So like just getting your grandmother to do the the air squats to the box squats to the couch.
Yeah, or step-ups with some dumbbells or something like that.
Any of that stuff is absolutely life-changing. So when we take care of this stuff here, and like you get the members get too wrapped up in, look at Billy over there fucking doing 405 for 5 in the back squat. You're all jumbled into this fucking 0.1% of the population in terms of how strong you are and your muscle mass and your bone density. Every single person out in that gym, right? Yep. So your version of this in terms of creating loading, so that you get the bone density, and then, manipulating muscle tissue so that you get a little bit stronger, that shit is going to happen. I promise you, I guarantee you. And if you've got a coach like, Hunter or Mark or anybody else and you're lollygagging over in the corner on 5x5 day, it's going to get fixed fairly quickly. So that would be one tip that I'd have in there. Like, this is not, I know you think you know what 5x5 is, you don't. Like, that's not what this is. I'm going to turn the music up so loud that you're going to understand what a 5x5 is.
Yeah. So again, kind of going information, I think, is the tool that hey guys, this is why being strong is important. Athletes can choose to take that or leave it, but the fact remains that the stronger you are, as Mark Ripito said, the more useful and the harder you are to kill. And like, that's in jest, but it is true. Like, we need to be strong in order to increase our longevity, reduce the instance of injury. We also know, again, let's go back to the L1 manual. We use those functional movements that allow multi-joint compound lifts that have the ability to impact you at the cellular level. Literally can change your cellular makeup when we are lifting heavy enough, and then obviously doing so safely. So communicating the importance of why we dedicate days to lifting only, and then like the actual format of the day means that you're going to do a set of 3 deadlifts or a set of 11 deadlifts, and then you need to rest 3 to 5 minutes because your energy system says like, hey, I can't lift heavy again for another 3 to 5 minutes unless you need to give me enough time to recover in order to do this again. The tough part for an athlete is like, well, that 3 to 5 minutes is just me sitting on a bench doing nothing, like hopefully talking and yucking it up with some friends with some music going, but like we need to communicate like, hey, it's okay that not every day is just a lung punch, and a punch to the heart rate. Like, there is value in these days. And then when it comes to the actual like structure and execution, like, we are still doing a warm-up that elevates athletes' heart rates. I think that's a huge problem, and I'll call out CrossFit on this one. The number of classes that I've seen, like the 1-hour class on YouTube of a lifting day or something like that, where it's like, we're going to do some jumping jacks and then get barbells in a hand of an athlete. I'm like, I would be so fucking annoyed if that was my class, because I'm like, I need to get a little bit of I need to get my heart rate up a little bit. I need to get a little bit of muscular activation going. I need to make sure that my midline is ready to support, 225 pounds in the front rack position, a little bit of mobility, that sort of thing. That's how we structure those days. And we still get a solid 30+ minute lifting session in and teaching of the movement, right? So on those days, we're still doing a kind of an abbreviated heart rate spike to make sure athletes are awake, their body temperatures are warm. We do some muscular activation stuff to make sure that like the correct muscles, especially like posterior chain stuff, making sure glutes and hamstrings are ready, because those are the things that protect our low back, especially when we're doing things like a squat or a pull, making sure those things are activated. And then we get barbells in an athlete's hand and we're drilling the shit out of positions, doing a lot of reps, and that's how we make sure athletes are warm. So that again goes to the connection of what's on the paper, what's on the document, what's on the teleprompter, and how the coach is actually going about making sure athletes are ready to execute this heavy day properly. So that's kind of the way that I think about structuring that day, and then also communicating the importance of, hey, there's a reason your heart rate's not going to get over 150 today. We're going to lift heavy because there is value in this in your overall fitness and longevity. And if you're upset that the one day per week that you came to the gym happened to be a day that your heart rate didn't get up, I'm a turn around and I'm going to put that on you, athlete. And I'm going to have a conversation as to why you only came to the gym twice this week. One of those days was the lifting day and the other was gymnastics, and you feel like you're not getting the most bang for your buck. It's like, I'll tell you why, because you're not. Like,
yeah.
You come to the gym 4 to 6 days a week, and then we can talk. So
yeah,
that's how I think about that heavy day.
And there's a performative aspect to it too. And I bet that if you got a meathead coach in your gym, go take his class and see because you could educate someone, but like, I'm thinking like, I might be aging myself here, but Ben Stein, the like Clear Eyes guy and the guy from Ferris Bueller, like that dude's not selling me on squat, clean, and split jerk, but Mark Kubek probably is, right?
Oh yeah, he is for sure.
Yeah, the from a stimulus standpoint too, let's say we go Metcon first and then lift. I'm just not going to be able to ask you to bring the level of intensity within a 1 hour class that I want for you to truly get a heavy day for over a long time horizon. Just make yourself, again, harder to kill kind of a situation. If I put the conditioning afterwards, there's some pretty good science there that says we're kind of washing away some of the adaptations that we're trying to have. And if you are coming to the gym the amount of times that we are suggesting, or if your members are, then this day is like, I don't know, it's so powerful, so important, especially from that macro point of view, that you do have to do the things that Hunter referenced in terms of selling it, getting that good warm up. Like you definitely got me riled up when you were talking about the videos of the hour-long class situation.
Yeah.
You start to age and you start to learn more about warming up because you fucking have to, right?
Yeah.
And then your mind goes to, well, how much longer could I have staved all of these things off had I warmed up properly, sure. Like that sort of thing. So I literally ask myself every time I'm about to do a workout, whether it's a lift, conditioning piece, monostructural, CrossFit, is my body ready for what I'm about to ask it to do?
Yeah.
And if I want to be intense in a lift, I still need my body to be warm and my tissues to be warm and to, the blood to be oxygenated. Like it's still a very fitness related thing, right? Like heavy clean and jerks. Like my heart rate's probably going to get over 150, over 160 just from lifting weights.
Yeah.
And if that spikes and happens immediately, my body might be asking, what the fuck are you doing? Versus like, okay, you prepared me for this. We did warm up the clean and jerk, but we also warmed up our bodies.
Yeah.
All right. Gymnastics day. That's kind of a straightforward thing. It's just this ode to the fact that we have these mixed modalities and we're going to make sure that we're giving each of them the attention that they deserve. So if we have a day where you're doing a medium duration workout that has you're doing a medium duration workout that has a handstand walk, for instance, in week 1. As the coach, you get that opportunity to make that your focus. Because let's say we've got rowing in the workout, whatever it is. You have the opportunity, again, to it's not necessarily going to be 3 rounds of walk 50 feet and then rest. It's let's take extra time. Let's get hands-on. Let's show people that there is a step-by-step way to, it's the handstand hold, and then it's the, walking off the wall or walking into the wall. There's all these different things that we can do. And that makes sure that we lean into the modality of gymnastics and skill as being one of the most important elements of a well-rounded program.
Yeah, to dedicate even just half a class, or in some instances it's an entire class, or where there's maybe there's 2 movements or 3 movements across the entire class and 1 or 2 of them are gymnastics. That gives coaches the opportunity to, I would argue that gymnastics movements are the most difficult to create a class plan that enables every single person to participate in some way, right? Because weightlifting movements, it's scaled by reducing the weight. Like squat snatch, great, use a toothpick. Scaled, perfect. I can get somebody snatching 135 for skill work. I can get somebody snatching with a PVC pipe for skill work. It's the same thing. Muscle ups, I can't just say do fewer muscle ups or lighten your body weight and
zero gravity machine.
Ups. Yeah, exactly. So I need to have kind of a plan as to what about the person who can't do what about the person who can't do a strict pull up? What is the way that I can give them a skill-based movement and still enable them to kind of achieve the stimulus that we're after, and hopefully learn something, improve their coordination, improve their athleticism, even if maybe they're in no danger of ever getting a muscle up. Like, everybody's got those athletes who are just like, this person's probably just never going to get over the rings.
Some people don't give a fuck either. Like, there are plenty of
don't
members that are like, cool,
yeah,
congrats.
Great, cool, awesome. And that's fine. I could make the argument why that's not fine, but we'll leave that for now. But like, the idea being that we have a session that is dedicated specifically to improving the skill for your athletes who have the skill. Great, they can practice it or attempt to increase their capacity by just going hard in it, or you give athletes the opportunity, maybe they're in that middle ground. It's like, use the muscle up, for example, like, some days I can get one, some days maybe I've gotten two before, but some days I'm not even getting over the rings. Again, you have that opportunity for those athletes to work on that skill. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it's the, I'm a ring row and box assisted dip sort of person, and we can still put together a plan and give that person the opportunity to improve their, whether it's coordination or their baseline body weight, strength, body awareness, and where their body's moving through space, that sort of thing. And keeping that sometimes separate from a conditioning piece where we can ask the athlete to treat it almost like a lifting session where your heart rate's not getting high. We can really focus on the task at hand, rest. There's no score component to it. There's no as fast as you can component to it. We're just working on improving the skill. Those are days that we can move the needle for athletes in a certain area of fitness, and then we can still, scale them for the conditioning piece. If there's a conditioning piece with a high skill movement, we just use our scaling toolkit to make sure that they're getting their metabolic conditioning, because that's theoretically lower, but higher on the pyramid, the hierarchy of development of an athlete.
Sure. Last but definitely not least, we have Intensity Day. It might be a specialty of ours. We've developed a reputation over the last decade, whether it's disguised as a cardio workout, maybe on some of the weeks where for our cardio day, we go monostructural conditioning, or, the gas tank workouts. We know how to, put your heart in your throat kind of a situation. And man, it works the best, but it's also this mental adaptation, and it's also this rite of passage of being part of a community that suffers together. Like, we could do an entire episode on, like, if you bring intensity, true intensity, on those 4 to 6 days a week, what you could do to your quality of life and longevity and all that stuff. But I don't know if there's anything that you want to add to it. It almost seems like too good of a topic and too big of a topic.
No, yeah. I mean, I think it's, again, from an education perspective, like, this is the day. And there are other, honestly, to be honest, like, so looking at phase 4, Monday is a conditioning test. That's our cardio day. Friday is labeled as intensity day. Like, hey, both of those workouts have some intensity to them, right? So it's more about the idea that we're communicating to coaches and athletes like, hey, there's this one thing in class. It's one workout. It's probably a Metcon, and it looks and smells an awful lot like your classic CrossFit couplet or triplet, because that is the bread and butter of CrossFit, and the intensity aspect is what separates CrossFit from other programs. And again, referencing level 1 manuals and Glassman circa 2000, that is the variable that we want to manipulate if you want to see progress. Like, the single most important variable, whether you're trying to lose weight, improve your blood markers, improve your overall performance, shed body weight, gain body mass, gain strength, whatever it is, intensity is the avenue that you do that. More often than not, it's in a conditioning piece. Obviously, intensity can be applied to a lifting session, can be applied to gymnastics work, but when it comes to CrossFit, again, thinking about the importance and where metabolic conditioning sits in the hierarchy of fitness, it is, only second to your nutrition when it comes to improving your overall fitness and work capacity. So those are the days where it's like, yep, this is what this is what you think of when you think CrossFit. It's like, that's the day. That's what it should feel like. That's how you get members excited to bury themselves for a 15-minute AMRAP, that sort of thing. And they get fitter because of it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, really the main difference between the idea of a cardio day versus an intensity day is you now enter the like, as a coach, needing to be really good at maneuvering your way through the class, and your thruster is 75 pounds and we're not doing chest to bar today. We're going to do chin over bar. We're crafting the correct version of intensity day for a lot of different people. Whereas cardio day, again, the barrier to entry is, and once again, like, what are all the benefits that you could think of for a cardio day? Everyone in class is doing the exact same workout is really fun. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But then, you move on later into the week, and it's cool to be able to, like, pass someone who always kicks your ass every day because you can fly over the rings a little bit better than them, that kind of thing. So I sort of see these as the barrier to entry is a little bit different. And you just, on the intensity day, like, this is when someone like Kyle would do, like, really well in the class. He'd have 19 variations of the workout in his back pocket, that he cooked up at 3 a.m. the night before. Like, he's ready to go. And looking at these days and that maybe is one cool exercise that you could do. Like, as a coach, what do you bring to these 5 different styles of classes? Because it's going to be different. Like, your prep for a heavy day is like, I'm going to go grab like an anecdote, a science, sciencey kind of thing. And I'm going to fucking choose the right playlist, like that kind of thing. Cardio day is like, got to have that amazing warm up. Like, there's all these different things and elements on a different day that you can bring to a class. And on intensity day, just looking at these workouts, being ready to talk through the different variations of scaling with your athletes, I think is really important.
Yeah.
And the kind of thing that's easier if you're ready for it versus, like, I don't know what the workout is 3 minutes before class.
Yeah. And on those workouts too, like, those are the ones that athletes look at on the whiteboard and are just like, oh, I can do that. Or I can, a lot of times athletes think about their movements in a vacuum. It's like, well, I can do 8 lunges. I can do 10 chest to bar pull-ups. Therefore, I'm qualified to do this workout as written. And there's some instances where that may be the case, but that's where the coach's kind of brain comes into play and says, like, hey, I know that these individual things in a vacuum are doable on whiteboard. Let's think about what this means, like, in actual execution. So you're going to do your lunges, and then you need to do something that elevates your heart rate, and then you're going to go back to those lunges. And now it's not actually a set of 8, it's 2 sets of 8 with 30 seconds of heart rate elevating work in between. Do you still think that you can do that? And then, oh, by the way, then can you do your chest to bar pull-ups? And so reminding athletes that, like, hey, there's a cumulative effect to these workouts that, for the most part, athletes don't think too far past the single set or rep scheme that's written up on the whiteboard. They're not thinking 2, 3, 4 rounds into the workout. They're not thinking about what the workout feels like when their heart rate's at a comfortable 60 BPM when they're at the whiteboard versus 160 4 minutes into this Metcon that they are now in the danger zone with. And
it's so nuanced too. Like, you, as a coach, you really want to pay attention to the different styles of athlete and the scaling. Because, like, for me specifically, there's every single movement in a vacuum looks fun. And, like, can be heavy, can be, higher set gymnastics. Like, in a vacuum, that's great. But, like, if I was coached really well, most workouts, most CrossFit couplets and triplets would be scaled in a pretty big way to prioritize intensity, because my strength and skill, like, far outweighs my, aerobic capacity. Yep. So it's not always just like, again, I look at a farmer's lunch, chest to bar pull up, get over, and, like, my heart rate's at 90 right now, just saying those movements. Man, I had a conversation. Let's see. I think I coached week 1. We did Ellen,
the new girl version of Helen, dumbbell thruster, double dumbbell thrusters, burpees, and dumbbell snatches. That was such a kick in the nuts. But I coached a class that I don't usually coach. One of the members, he is, bless his heart, fucking strong as an ox. Like 220, he strict pressed 226 the other week for his.
I'm coming for you, Steve.
Yeah, Steve. Bless, God damn it. But when it came to Ellen, so a 226 strict presser, like math says like 250-pound dumbbells should be no problem for Steve in 3 sets of, was it 9 thrusters, 10 thrusters, whatever it is in Ellen. 12 thrusters. He came up to me afterward, after the class. He finished last. His metabolic conditioning is low relative to his strength level. A 500 pounds, near 500 pound squatter, 500 pound plus deadlifter, 226 strict press, metabolic conditioning not the highest. He came up to me and he's just like, "What? Like, where did I go wrong?" I was like, "Well, man, like, here's the problem. Like, those dumbbells, like, you look at those 250-pound dumbbells and they look like jelly beans to you because you're strong as fuck. The problem is that the problem is the 21 burpees, right, or the 12 burpees that you have to do that jack your heart rate up, and you don't quite have the aerobic capacity to make those burpees easy enough and then enable yourself to do those dumbbell thrusters more easily, because now he's doing sets of 2 and 3 dumbbell thrusters, not because he's not strong enough, but because his fitness doesn't support the ability to continue working, to do 5, 6, 10, 12 thrusters at a time, because it's not about his strength, it's about his conditioning. So I was like, hey man, here's the key to success is to scale. Like, I would challenge you, like, to come back a week later, do this workout with 20-pound dumbbells and see what happens. You know, like, and lo and behold, like last week when we had that goddamn rope climb thruster air bike workout that you wrote, I was in, I actually coincidentally coached class. He was in class. He could certainly do 95-pound barbell thruster. He pulls out a 75-pound barbell. He's not the last one to finish the workout. He's fucking on his back, flat on his back, and he's like, yeah, I'm taking the advice. I'm scaling it back a little bit for more intensity. And like, that's awesome. That's what we're after. But it's talking to athletes about like, hey, it's not about the movements in a vacuum. It's like, let's think about how this workout should be executed in order to maximize your fitness and therefore your personal progress.
It's confusing to experience too, because the fact that you can do the movements unbroken easily is the problem. You feel terrible after.
Yeah.
But you're like, this is easy. Am I going to I'm going to put these down and just like hang out? Like I'm trying to remember what it was. We had it was like row, single dumbbell overhead lunge, and double under. Yes.
No, it was toes to bar.
For me, I did.
You rowed.
I did row instead of toes to bar. But I wasn't like rowing at a pace that would have made it like really different.
Yeah.
But that first round is just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Should I stop?
Always
like,
is.
No, I need a 30-pound dumbbell.
Yeah.
And it's like, but the 50's easy, but then I can't do. You know, it's confusing. So it's just, I don't want to go on like a full tangent here, but in terms of that toolkit and knowing what point you're trying to get across, it's like, let's like do some guessing and checking together as coach and athlete, and let's try to get your score to be similar, closer to the group.
Yeah.
On those days.
The coach is the bridge, right? You said it's like the program, it's like any Tom, Dick, or Harry can write a program on paper, and maybe like if we analyzed it, maybe it's a good program, but if it's not executed well, then it doesn't matter. And left to your own device, the athlete is going to see what's on the board, say, I can do that, and I did it, and now I'm going to do it. What they're missing is that the bridge, the coach, to say like, hey man, I know what you're seeing on the whiteboard, and I know what your capacity is. I have the knowledge and the experience to say that this workout is going to get very hard very quickly. Therefore, I think you should should scale, we should modify or something somewhere. The coach is the bridge that makes sure the athlete is getting what was intended by whoever wrote that workout and that's up on the screen. You have to know that. You have to have the experience. You have to have the foresight. You have to know the athlete as an individual to say, like, hey, man, I know you can strict press that 95-pound barbell in Fran if you wanted to. Doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and I honestly think that you saying that towards the end of the podcast is basically the perfect way to explain why we're doing this podcast. What's the point? Like, we're doing this podcast because, again, this could just be words on a page. And then there's the other part of the audition that we have, or retention tool that we have, of Hunter and I could do this about these topics for 3 or 4 hours and not notice.
Sure.
I pay attention to the time for the opposite reason. Make sure we don't go too long and fucking bore people. But this is what we do. This is what we're passionate about. And we have this incredible laboratory 10, 15 feet away where we go out, and I think it'd be crazy for someone to write one of these programs and not execute it. I think that would be wild.
Yeah.
And maybe there are some companies out there that do that. I actually think there might be a few, because it's you don't have an affiliate, that kind of thing. But to be able to, we have to, this is what we run here. We have to be able to put our money where our mouth is, or walk the walk, talk the talk, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know when is this dropping? This is going to be dropping this week, right? We're going to drop it. Okay, cool. So Monday, January 20th is the beginning of Misfit Affiliate Phase 4. Like we said at the top of the podcast, really excited to be partnering with PushPress, so you can get signed up for your 14-day free trial there. If you prefer SugarWOD, you can also get signed up there for a 14-day free trial, and you can still head to teammisfit.com and get signed up on our website. The final thing, and StreamFit, yes, you can get signed up on StreamFit as well. Is there a free trial on StreamFit? Yes, there is a free trial on StreamFit. The last thing that I will say related to that, if you've made it this far with us, is we are committed to finding the correct partner programs for the gyms. So if you're where's Beyond the Whiteboard, where's Wodify, where's X, Y, and Z, we are willing to continue to explore those things to make sure that we can get this programming and coaching into as many hands as possible. Hunter, any final thoughts beyond that?
One logistical item. So this phase will take you through week 2 of the Open. Every year, what we basically do is we give you your Monday through Saturday programming. Friday is typically when we do it, and in our experience, when most affiliates are doing the Open workout. It gets released on Thursday. The Thursday programming is already written, and it's written in such a way that even if the movements in the Open are actually duplicated on Thursday, what the volume of movements that you're doing on Thursday in class is hopefully not going to negatively impact your Open workout on Friday. We don't have a programmed workout on Friday because it's the Open workout. On Saturday, typically, once those workout gets announced, we will release any updates to the programming. Let's say there's pull-ups in the Open workout on Friday, and then we've got a bunch of pull-ups programmed for Saturday. We will put it in Discord, put it on the website and whatnot. Make sure you guys know that, hey, the suggested movement modification is to get people on a rower instead of doing pull-ups. So if you're wondering how that kind of works during the Open, basically once the Open workout gets announced, among other things that we do is just make sure that we provide any modifications to the programming to you all, that just to make sure that things don't get doubled up on. But you guys are also obviously welcome to just make some modifications on your own based on your affiliate. But that's kind of how we do things for those 3 weeks in the Open.
All right, discord.gg/Misfit Athletics to get signed up for our free community. PushPress, SugarWOD, StreamFit, or teammisfit.com to get signed up for the programming. I'm super excited about this phase. I think there's just a little bit of buzz that gets added this time of year, and the idea of being able to sell the true GPP kind of rotating movements and everything like that is important, because the efficacy of it, like it really working, is pretty cut and dry. So yeah, I feel like I did my outro sort of a thing and tied all that together. So we'll see you next week.